4 Hong Kongers jailed in the Philippines for life on drug charges. Occupy 9 to learn their fate in April. And what is next for Theresa May after EU says no renegotiation on Brexit?
Well, good evening. 4 Hong Kong men have been sentenced to life imprisonment in the Philippines for crimes their families claim they never committed. A local legislator is appealing for the SAR and Chinese governments to step in. A devastating verdict, life imprisonment. That's what a Philippine court today handed down to 4 Hong Kong men arrested in 2016. Besides life sentences, they face a 5 million peso fine, roughly 730,000 Hong Kong dollars.
They are really innocent. We have the video that they do nothing, the bank has nothing, but also need to go to the jail. Really unfair.
She's not the only one who thinks the group's been framed.
Our major defense is that on the first search of the vessel, comprehensively, in front of and under the witness of several news reporters, nothing found, no drugs are found. Okay, and we are able to appoint a reporter who go to court to testify that there's no drugs found on the first search. However, this was not accepted by the court. Reasonable doubt has been made, and accused should be released.
He called on Beijing and Chief Executive Carrie Lam to intervene. That she did in August, in a separate case in which another Hong Konger was jailed for drug charges in the Philippines. Tang Long Wai managed to secure immigration records after Carrie Lam reached out to Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte for help. Those documents from 18 years ago may prove his innocence and avoid life imprisonment.
The public nuisance trial over the 2014 Occupy movement has been adjourned until next year. Here's Haley Joe with a recap before the verdict is delivered in April.
The 9 defendants in the Occupy trial will be handed their verdict from the district court in the spring. Meanwhile, the court will review all the evidence that includes hours of videos and citations of court cases from around the world. Their trial started on November 19th, with all 9 pleading not guilty to the charges against them. The charges include conspiracy to cause public nuisance, inciting others to cause public nuisance, and inciting people to incite others to cause public nuisance. Inside the courtroom, a raging dispute continued until the very last minute over whether the obstructions to public roads caused by the Occupy movement could be justified, given the importance of the issues at stake, the people's right to vote for the city's leadership. Prosecutors argued the court should not make a political judgment on the worthiness of the protest. But the defense rebutted, saying the court needs to recognize that the protesters were concerned about their right to elect their leader. For that reason, a large number of citizens would tolerate the impact of the protest. The defendants looked back with no regrets.
We would not regret of participating in this greatest historical movement in Hong Kong.
People will be under pressure if we got convicted. They worry will cause their prosecution. So I think the chilling effect is clear, and I hope that the judge will be able to see that.
The judge is expected to hand down a ruling on the case on April 9th next year. Haley Zhou, TVB News.
Future lawmakers may soon be required to take their oaths of office while the national anthem plays in the background. This as authorities say a draft of the national anthem law will be submitted to LegCo for a first reading early next year.
This is quite unnecessary. They are trying to stress that in Hong Kong, we talk about one country, 2 systems. But remember, it's always one country that comes first.
This is such an important occasion. Every term we have to take off once. I can see the need for that.
The finance ministry in Beijing says it will suspend additional tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles and auto parts for 3 months starting in January. The government will suspend 25% tariffs on 144 U.S. vehicle and auto parts. It will also suspend 5% tariffs on 67 auto items. This will take effect between January 1st and March 31st. The ministry hopes the gesture will allow China and the United States to speed up negotiations to remove all additional tariffs on each other's goods.
Overseas, British Prime Minister Theresa May, hoping for help to sell her Brexit deal at home, was told by European Union leaders that her proposals are not clear. Instead, the EU says it will plough ahead with plans for a cliff-edge no-deal Brexit on March 29th, with a raft of contingency measures to be presented next week. Alan Buckner reports.
Theresa May came to the EU summit seeking support and assurances to satisfy detractors to her Brexit agreement. She came as a weakened leader, having just survived a no-confidence vote from her own party. She pleaded with the 27 other EU leaders to help her sell the agreement to hostile British lawmakers. But EU leaders expressed frustration with May, saying she didn't come with a clear plan. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said Britain has to say what it wants, rather than asking the EU what it can give, describing the discussion as nebulous.
The Union stands by this agreement and intends to proceed with its ratification. It is not open for renegotiation.
May is seeking to overcome resistance at home to the treaty's Irish backstop. It's an insurance clause that obliges Britain to follow EU trade regulations until a better way is found to avoid having a damaging hard border across Ireland. Some British lawmakers say it could tie the UK to EU rules indefinitely. But Ireland's Prime Minister says there can't be an exit clause if a more comprehensive agreement isn't reached over the next 2 years of negotiations.
If the backstop has an expiry date, if there is a unilateral exit clause, then it's not a backstop. That would be to render it inoperable, and that would mean reopening the substance of the withdrawal agreement. And the European Union is unequivocal that that's not an option.
The meeting only seemed to stall for time until after Christmas. May must win parliamentary approval for her deal before January 21st. Or face a chaotic no-deal Brexit on March 29th. It's doubtful the EU has done enough to help May win the vote. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
French police have shot and killed the man wanted for a shooting rampage near a Christmas market in Strasbourg that left 3 people dead and more than a dozen injured. The shootout caps a massive 2-day manhunt involving more than 700 officers. Jeff Tang reports.
Strasbourg's Neudorf neighborhood was swarmed by onlookers, hoping to catch a glimpse of the lifeless body of the man who had terrorized the eastern French city since Tuesday. Sharif Churkat was slain in the doorway of an apartment block on Thursday night following a shootout with police who had been hunting him since Tuesday. Local residents expressed their relief, adding that life in the city can go back to normal. France's Interior Minister Christophe Castaner said police had spotted a man matching the suspect's description in the city's Neudorf neighborhood. When they tried to arrest him, the suspect turned around and started firing, but was killed by the officers who fired back. The 29-year-old Strasbourg man was wanted for killing 3 people and injuring 13 near the Strasbourg Christmas market on Tuesday. Witnesses at the shooting said the gunman shouted "God is great" in Arabic before spraying gunfire from a security zone. Churkat was wounded by security forces during the shooting but managed to escape in a taxi. He was then dropped off in the densely populated Neudorf neighborhood. The French government swiftly deployed more than 700 officers in the ensuing manhunt. Churkat, who was on a government watch list of potential extremists, had a long history of convictions for numerous crimes, including robberies. 5 people had been arrested since Tuesday, including Churkat's parents and 2 of his brothers. Prosecutors say the 5th person arrested was a member of Churkat's entourage, but not a family member. Embattled French President Emmanuel Macron who was in Brussels for a European Union summit, thanked security forces on Twitter. Macron reiterated that France's engagement against terrorism is total. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
Canada's opposition leader has blamed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's naive approach to relations to China for Beijing's detention of 2 Canadian citizens.
We look at the decisions that he has made to appease the Chinese government in the past, waiving national security reviews of important takeovers of Canadian companies that have sensitive technology. We now find ourselves in a situation where we have Canadian citizens on foreign soil detained, and a government that has pursued a policy of appeasement, putting us in a position where we don't have the leverage that we might otherwise have.
She has slammed Trudeau's refusal to firmly state whether to allow Huawei to participate in the country's 5G market, a move banned by many Western countries. This week, Beijing confirmed it arrested 2 Canadian citizens on suspicion of endangering national security. The detentions are seen as retaliation to Canada's arrest of Huawei's finance chief, Meng Wanzhou, who is wanted by Washington for allegedly violating US sanctions against Iran. Meng was released on bail of 10 million Canadian dollars on Tuesday, but remains under virtual house arrest in Vancouver, pending a potentially lengthy US extradition case.
Still to come on tonight's news. Lawmakers complain new transport subsidy isn't wide enough. Stall owners promise great deals at the Expo Fair.
呢種滋味令人回味。呢個經典組合 Big Mac 套餐配脆薯王只係28蚊，仲有 Double Big Mac。
Welcome back to TVB News. Long-distance commuters are expected to spend less on transportation when a government subsidy takes effect next month. But lawmakers slammed its limited coverage at a LegCo Transport panel meeting today. Christy Lowe with the details.
More than 2 million long-distance commuters are expected to benefit from a new subsidy scheme starting on New Year's Day. If their monthly transport expenses exceed $400, they may get up to $300 back. No registration is required, also no age limit or means test. Yet, some lawmakers noted the scheme excludes some minibus routes and non-franchised buses for private estate residents.
Only 12 red minibus routes are covered by the scheme. I think the coverage is too low.
Officials say there could be changes.
We have also received inquiries from employers and also commuters from housing estates using resident services. If they are able to resolve some of the technical problems, there should be more routes that would be joining.
The government said commuters will receive the subsidy starting from February next year. Yet the amount will not be automatically added to their Autobus cards.
Users can collect the subsidy by tapping their Autobus cards at one of the 1,750 locations, such as MTR stations and supermarkets. Next February, a concessionary scheme for franchised buses will begin. They can use government tunnels and some control areas free of charge, which another lawmaker called unfair.
The fare levels between the franchised and non-franchised buses would widen, and this is introducing unfair competition.
Officials say they will study if the scope of exemption can be expanded to other means of transport, such as minibuses. Christy Lung, TVB News.
Starting next month, more Hong Kong products will see zero tariffs when imported into the mainland under the latest CEPA deal. Kena Chu reports.
Just like that, Hong Kong and the mainland broadened their trade cooperation under CEPA. That's the closer economic partnership arrangement updated multiple times since its introduction in 2003.
Over the 15 years, CEPA has been the freest free trade agreement signed by the mainland. The upgrading of CEPA is another milestone.
Currently, Hong Kong goods imported into the mainland must fulfill certain requirements and product-specific rules of origin to enjoy zero tariffs. A new rule under the latest CEPA deal would expand that list of 1,900 items to around 6,000 items, ranging from machinery to Chinese medicines. Also, fresh measures to expedite customs clearance of goods in the Greater Bay Area.
The opening up of mainland and also Hong Kong as an independent tariff zone had come into a new age of cooperation. With the building up of this mechanism and the signing of this agreement will provide for the future for the mainland and Hong Kong to contribute to the national strategy.
That being the Belt and Road Initiative, China's attempt to develop a series of land and sea trade routes. In support of that, the Chinese General Chamber of Commerce formed a professional committee to enhance cooperation with the mainland business sector. Kana Chu, TVB News.
Well, for those of you still looking for some last-minute Christmas gifts, watch out for the annual Hong Kong Brands and Products Expo. It doesn't open until tomorrow morning, but our Caleb Lone was there today for a sneak peek.
Victoria Park looks like an open-air warehouse today. By tomorrow, it will be flooded with people looking for a bargain on their familiar brands and products. That's because the 80th Hong Kong Brands and Products Expo officially opens tomorrow. Stall keepers are working hard to unload their goods and set up their stalls, where a wide range of products including electric appliances, tableware, and groceries will be available at discount prices. Despite the downbeat local economic sentiment, stall keepers are optimistic about their business and sales this year.
Hong Kong is facing too many critical moments, but we are focused on selling small home appliances. We are not afraid the environment affect the sales a lot.
The atmosphere is not so good, but we expect to have we can have a mild increase this year. Traditionally, people they will buy some dry seafood as usual. That's why we expect the business will not be too bad.
The expo also has something to offer to those who are not into shopping. For those who get hungry during their shopping spree, there's a variety of food for them to choose from at the Food Plaza, which includes common street food and something more fancy like abalone. The expo will be held for 24 days until January 7th. The opening hours will be from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, except the last day, which will be at 8 p.m. Caleb Bloom, TVB News.
Police have arrested 12 people for scams involving more than $20 million. Computer equipment, loan documents, and $180,000 in cash were just some of the goods seized yesterday from two financial intermediaries in Tsim Sha Tsui. Police arrested 7 men and 5 women for alleged conspiracy to defraud and obtain property by deception. The suspects, aged between 24 and 66, reportedly tricked victims by claiming to offer low-interest loans and mortgages.
That's